meets the half strong, which is about right in this little area right in here. That's where you're gonna get to do the most cutting. And guys on the sabers, last year I hired two guys dressed up in Silverware outfits, a northern and a southern, and I paid more to the south one this time. But I had them sword fighting out there with each other, and then I had it with pumpkins and watermelons and matting and etc. If they want to cut the flesh on one, the guys with the sword, the supply is the same with your knife. You'd use the weak part out here. It will not cut bone. This will not cut 1-inch rope. You can hit 1-inch rope here all day long and it will not cut 1-inch rope. You hit with the rope here, it will cut it just fine. Case in point, what really taught me that was a sword. Again, when you cut this, it will not cut 1-inch rope at all. When I hit the sweet spot up in here, it would cut 15. All you'd feel is ding. Now, when you're cutting this rope, just like sticks or anything else, when you're cutting this and that rope flies out too far sideways like that, you're cutting too flat. If you properly cut that rope, it'll drop this straight down. That lets you know right there, if it's a stick, if it's a rope, if it's a bottle, if a sucker ever flies over, it's way too flat. And so you will see them sometimes. They'll wrap around here, or you can see a guy manage to cut it through brute force, the rope going out here. It should drop this straight down if you've got your angles right, if your blade is meeting the less resistance as possible, it'll drop this straight. Now, that's where you see on these kukris, and for instance, the Middle Eastern knives, they had a lot of upsweep in theirs. And now they wasn't cutting armor, something hard. They were cutting cloth. So they put as much sweep in this thing as possible. And this is what the 5 is. It has all sweep. So it's really good for slicing. The straighter that they would make this thing, the more shock or abuse it would take. For instance, the kukri is really good as far as chopping the board. They've got that sweet spot knocked down below your handle. Now, the straighter the handle, the more speed you get out of it, as far as in relationship to this, to the blade. The more you drop this handle down, which is what happens on the kukri, the more power you get. So there's a fine balance between speed and power. A slicing type knife like this one is straight because you're interested more in speed and slice, not power necessarily. If he'd have dropped this handle down or dropped that blade down like he's done on some, it's a nasty little chopper, but he won't slice sometimes as well. So again, that can go to our conversation. But
I think
I'm just giving a broad view of where you're supposed to hit, why you're supposed to hit it, and it's
I think of it as the difference between 5.56 and 308. You can get the job done either way. One you do it with speed, and the other you do it with mass or with power.
Shot placement.
Yeah, shot placement is everything.
Yeah,
yes.
that's everything. The same is going to hit main shot placement where you're going to hit the same right here. If you hit it too close, it ain't going to cut it. Now, I'll go over what we're going to cut just so you got a feel for what we're testing and how we're testing this thing. The rope is going to be a 5 points or 0. You either cut it or you don't. That's going to, what it's going to test is your edge geometry. If you have went in there and convex or changed this edge, that's going to test that. It's a nasty type rope, so it's also going to test your edge, how it holds up. What'd you say you rock wall is at, basically?
58, 59.
58, 59, okay. The next cut is going to be the mount, the wild mounts. We're going to hook this thing here up on a board, on a tape measure and a 1/2 inch hardwood dowel. A lot of times something real narrow will flex that blade more. And so you're going to have to get at that cut or you'll never touch that mouse. You'll have to get at it hard. Now, so we're hitting hard on something hard and round. So if you've got that thing too thin, it's going to wrinkle that blade. It's going to flex it out, could chip it out if you've got it too thin. That's what that dowel is for, is to check it. It's a lot of fun, but all these has a reasoning behind this.
Jerry, on that same cutter, you wanted to pop it with your reel too?
Yeah, everything.
Speed, everything.
Yeah. Now, there's some sneaky ways around cutting. There's some little tips that you can try and do when you're cutting anything. One year we had Kevin Cashin, who cuts very well. I think he called for either 2 or 3 1-inch growth, and that he had to cut in the final. And what he did, he come off, I mean, he come up both feet. As soon as he come off that ground, we knew he wasn't going to squash us. And he didn't, because he has no